I do want to say thank you all very much for sticking with us. You guys have shown great determination and great focus because this information is just so vast and sometimes dry, but you guys are great, so thank you for that. It's a good thing it's Thursday, right? So we can go home. No? It's not Thursday? It's Monday? Oh man, okay, long week, okay. But we can do this. We're almost done. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with licensing and certification. So what are we going to go over? We're going to go over who needs to be certified, who needs to have those licenses, who needs to have those certifications. So who needs to have them? Do owners and operators have to have those ICC certifications or licenses? Yes. What about UST DOs, designated operators, the ones that come out once a month? Yes or no? Yes, definitely. What about your testers, your installers, your retrofitters, your removers, these individuals, your techs? Do they have to be certified? Most definitely. What about inspectors? Not inspectors, right? We're above the regulations. No. We regulate the regulations, but they also regulate us. So we got to get ICC certified as well. We got to take the test. But there's a loophole, and I'll talk about that later, that inspectors have that nobody else has. So why is this important? It's important because we want to ensure that the people that are, operating or working or inspecting these facilities have a general idea of what the UST system is, the components that monitor them, and a pretty good understanding of the laws and the regulations that are behind, the Code of Regulations, California Code of Regulations, and Health and Safety Code. Okay, so I'm going to break it down into different tiers. We're going to go through owners, DOs, the techs, and then the inspectors. And we're going to talk about licensing first and then timelines. Okay, so we'll take a look at the licensing, the requirements to be licensed. So the magic number here for the owner is by January 1st, 2005, 115, they have to submit a signed statement to the local agency, to their local agency, indicating two important things: that the owner understands and is in compliance with all the applicable UST requirements. So what does that mean? That means they understand and they know every little aspect, every little nook and cranny of Health and Safety Code and CCR Title 23, right? In a nutshell. And the other thing they have to submit is that the owner has to notify the local agencies for their DOs for each facility that's owned. So sometimes we have facilities that are corporations and they contract out with certain DOs. So we usually get a list of all of the DOs that are eligible to basically conduct those DO inspections. And we have a record of that, and we make sure that they're current and they're up to date, because we can check it on the website. So that's important to keep in mind. So what do the DO Statement of Understanding, what does that look like? This is the form that we use in terms of what the DO statement has in terms of the owner/operator, an agreement between them, saying that, I'm the owner, you're the designated operator, you're going to be coming out here once a month, you're going to be doing, some important tasks, mainly ensuring that all alarms are addressed and doing some employee training. And it lists the DOs, that their names, phone numbers, contact information, their ICC certifications, and their expiration dates as well. And of course, we always need that signature so we know who's responsible, okay, just in case. We know who to call to either congratulate them on a great DO or condemn them for a bad DO. So the DO, okay, so we talked about the owner, now we'll talk about the DO. So again, that magic number that we're dealing with is 1105. Okay, that's that magic number that they had to obtain a current UST system operator certification via the ICC certification, and renew that every 24 months. So every 2 years, they've got to renew that, okay, that license. It's an exam that they have to take. And what are their duties? Well, one of their main duties is performing a monthly visual inspection for each facility and maintain a log. So what does that mean? That means that if there's an alarm at that particular facility, okay, let's say an 87 STP turbine went into alarm because, it's January, February, and there's a gallon of rainwater in there, and it triggered an alarm. Well, we want to make sure that when we go out and do our inspections, that designated operator during that month basically did their due diligence and pumped out the water, placed it in the haz waste drum, and then documented it. Okay, and we'll go over what those DO reports look like, and I'll show you guys some of the things that we most commonly see that are not. It's making the DO report incomplete, and hence a violation. So we'll clarify that as well. And the second thing that they have to do is provide on-the-job training for employees. Now they have to do an annual, we call it annual DO training to all facility employees. And they got to do that every year and 30 days from hire. So what we do is when we go out and do our inspection, what I'll generally do is I'll ask one of the employees, you know, excuse me, can you point me to your, I mean, I'll use Veeder-Root as the example because we see that about 95% of the time. Do you know where your Veeder-Root panel is? And if I just get a blank look back and be like, I don't, what's a Veeder-Root? Well, and then I look at the employee training log and I see that person's name, I know that that DO is not doing their job right because that person does not know what a Veeder-Root system looks like. Whereas if I, you know, generally ask and ask the cashier or the register, where's your Veeder-Root? And they're like, well, it's in the back. Okay, I'll go to the back, I'll check it out. And maybe I'll ask another question or two about what they do if there's an alarm. Do they just tear out the tape and throw it away? Are they supposed to do that? No. Do they do that sometimes? Well, you might find that out, but they're supposed to document it and basically keep those tapes for the DO. So that's really important. It boils down to those two responsibilities there. Training and documentation, those monthly reports. So this is what the DO monthly report checklist kind of looks like. Again, you can see the facility's name. We usually see the DO's information up here, their ICC certification, when does it expire. And then we see different components. In terms of the monitoring panel, is it an alarm? Is it not an alarm? We have the UST system inspection. We have UDC inspections, all the tank top inspection points, and then paperwork inspections. And the most common violation that we see is that there's an alarm. Okay, let's say an alarm happened today, and they will never address it in 5A, and will never address it in 6, okay, section 6. So meaning that there was an alarm today, I go out and do my inspection, and I'm recording all these alarms that went off, and I don't see any report from the DO saying that, you know what, 5 gallons of rainwater was pumped out and effectively placed in the haz waste drum. Okay, it's blank. So what does that tell me? The DO is not doing their job. Or we go on site and there might be an alarm, a sensor that's in alarm due to rainwater, and it's been like that for the last 2 or 3 months. Is that an issue? Yeah, right? Because where's the DO? He's supposed to be coming out once a month to verify this information. So that's the biggest thing that we see is a violation here with 5A and 6. They're not listing the sensors, and even if they are listing them, let's say here, they're not describing what happened. So they might say, you know, L1 87 STP some sensor in alarm on, you know, 2, 6, 11 or 12, and they'll never document it. I won't know what happened to it because there's another page that kind of describes what happened to that alarm or to that water. Or what they did. Was it a bad sensor? Did they have to replace it? Was there water in there? Was it fuel? We talked about the things that they have to document, and it's not listed on there. On the second page, it's like a supplemental page that kind of goes into further detail as to what happened with that alarm. So we want to make sure that the DO is completely filling out this paperwork. And this is very common to see. We issue this violation a lot in San Diego. It's probably one of the more common things. Aside from sensors failing, maybe this is number 2, if not number 1. Okay, so what does the training look like? The training, like I said, is done once a year, okay, and 30 days from hire for all new employees. And it's going to be provided by who? DO, right? The designated operator. He's the one. They're the ones that are going to be doing the training. And it is going to be facility specific, meaning that each facility might have certain things that they have to keep in mind or remember. In regards to, let's say, where the spill kit is, some places are locked up, and they have to have a key to access that location to have access to that hazardous waste drum. So is that the case? It's going to be facility specific. And what do the training topics include? Well, we're going to start with operating that UST in a manner that's consistent with BMP's, best management practices, meaning that if there's a sensor in alarm, do they want to rip out the tape and just throw it in the trash, or X out a sensor, or not pay attention to a drive off if, you know, there's a nozzle in a vehicle and it drives off? No. That's not consistent with BMPs. Other thing that we want to be aware of is emergency contact information. We want the most current emergency contact information. Many times there is such a case where we need to call the responsible parties, and we have outdated phone numbers maybe, or numbers that are inactive. So we want to make sure that this information is updated. and we have the most recent and most current information. And we also want to make sure that their spill and overfill response procedures are in play and in use. And that's part of, you guys remember I showed you guys earlier the response plan, right? What happens if there's a spill? What do? What are the mechanisms that go into play when we have a release? Do they just sit back and relax and have a Diet Coke? Or do they do something about that spill? So we want to see that, again, in action. And then we have the monitoring equipment, equipment in operation and alarm response. So we want to see the DOs go out there if there's an alarm and address that alarm properly, okay? Whether it be due to rainwater or a broken sensor, we just want to make sure that those alarms are responded to appropriately. Okay, what about technicians? Okay, in terms of technicians, I'm going to go over the technicians that conduct the monitoring equipment certification, the secondary containment testing, and the installers, retrofitters, removers. They might be all one and the same. They might be the same company or the same contractor, but they do have to have these different certifications. So they might be one and the same. So we'll go over the monitoring equipment certification first. So what's the first thing that they have to be? They have to be they have to possess a tank tester's license or a CSLB license, the Contractor State Licensing Board. They have to be licensed by them. And again, the magic number for contractors is July 1st, so it's 7/1/2005, that they had to obtain their ICC certification. And this is really important that it says California, because there's ICC certifications in different states, and there's different regulations that govern different states. And they might show up with the certification that does say ICC, but we look for California ICC, just to make sure that they are certified in one of the more stringent states in terms of licensing and certifications. So we also want to make sure that they are trained and certified by the monitoring equipment manufacturer, meaning that if they're installing an Incon or Veeder-Root sensor, that they know how to install that sensor, because sometimes they have to splice wire, they have to open up components. Do they know how to do this? Are they licensed? Are they certified by the manufacturer? So that's really important that we ensure as well. And there is equivalent training if no manufacturer training exists. So that's the little loophole that they have if there's no certification that's possible by the manufacturer. Okay, in terms of testers that do the secondary containment testing, these are the individuals that do the 3-year test or a 36-month test. Again, they have to possess that tank tester's license or the CSLB license. And that magic number again is 715, okay? July 7, 2005, they have to obtain that current California ICC certification. And again, they have to be trained by the developer of that testing equipment or manufacturer. Zoraida showed you guys earlier some secondary containment probes that were used. We have Incon is one of them that's very commonly seen. It's used for hydrostatic testing within sumps. And we want to make sure that they are current with those testing protocols. Do they know how to use this equipment, basically, is what we want to make sure or ensure. Installers, they got to possess that CSLB license and, not or, this is an and, a hazardous substance removal certification. Why do you think they need that removal certification if they're installing or removing or even retrofitting? Because they're in contact with a hazardous substance, right? Fuel or petroleum is considered a hazardous material, so they need to have that certification as well. So they need to, okay, what if I'm at a site and I've got a person that's not doing the actual work, but he's got a group of guys that are actually doing the installation? Is that okay? And that's okay, because the person that's on site, if there's a person on site with the licensing, with the certifications, he can have other individuals do the actual work. Okay, but he has to be present, he or she has to be present on site. Okay, it can't be like, okay, here's my certifications, I'm going to McDonald's, I'll see you guys later, right? They have to be on site, they have to be kind of supervising what's going on. Okay, so they again need to be trained and certified by the manufacturer of those UST system components that they're installing. So if they're installing flex line or fiberglass piping, they need to be certified by specific manufacturers depending on what we're dealing with. And again, by January 1st, 2005, they needed to obtain that current ICC UST installer certification. So again, a lot of certifications that they have to be, a lot of certifications, a lot of licenses that they have to present to us and maintain. Can the certs be split between the different texts? Yes. As long as we have those individuals present on site, we're good to go. Good question, yes. Okay, what about the inspectors now? Okay, I think most of you are inspectors. What do we have to go through? What are the requirements as an inspector? Well, the magic number for inspectors is 915, September 1st, 2005, where we had to obtain a ICC California UST certification. And we had to pass that. We had to obtain that certification within 180 days of being hired, or we would get fired, right? No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, 180 days, that's the guideline, okay? So 180 days of hire, you got to get that ICC certification in your hands, or you can't do these inspections. Makes sense, right? If you can't pass the ICC, if you can't understand the laws and regulations and the components that deal with the system, what are you doing out there, right? Kind of makes sense. So 180 days there. So let's talk about the frequency now of this training, of this certification for all the groups that we just mentioned earlier. We're talking about facility employees. How often do they have to be retrained by the DO? We said annually, right? Every year they got to be retrained by them, and within 30 days of being hired. DOs, service techs, installers, and inspectors, we all have to be either retrained or recertified every 24 months. So every 2 years we got to be recertified. But there's a little loophole. Who has a loophole? The inspectors do. Because only the inspectors can renew certification by either passing that ICC certification or doing this, satisfying the equivalent criteria approved by the State Water Resource Control Board, UST Program Manager, which is what we're all kind of doing here, right? We're getting those hours. That's the educational equivalent, right? But today, that doesn't count. No, I'm just kidding. There's a bunch of angry faces right now. No, it does count. I'm just kidding. It counts. So that's the loophole or the exemption that inspectors have, is the certification through continued education. So that's kind of a interesting little loophole that we have. All right, so pop quiz, hot shots. Let's see what you got. All right, DOs has to be IC certified by what day? That's a hard one. I know you guys know it. Yeah, January 1st, 2005. Good. When must a new USD inspector be ICC certified? How many days do we have? 180 days, right. So I guess I better get going. No, I'm just kidding. I'm already certified. I'm on day 179. All right, so we kind of got all that good stuff out of the way in terms of certifications and, oh, question, sorry. Yeah. On the monthly DO reports, are we requiring a heat stamp? Oh, and an ink stamp. No, there's no requirement as long as there's some type of signature on there from the DO. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. The thing with, that's a good question there. This happened to me with one of my DOs that he would have, I went to a site, and I did my annual inspection, and he had copies of the alarm tapes, okay, already there. And he told me, well, I only print out a new history if there's an alarm. But there's no date when he printed the history on there. It's just a copy. I told him that's not acceptable because I need to see the facility's date when you printed this alarm history out, because this could have been from 2 years ago. How do I know? So I did require him to stop doing that and to actually print out the facility's name, address, and the date he did that DO inspection. But a signature would work, yeah, as long as it's signed. Yes? Okay, the question is, do we require the DO to actually do the, let's say, the dirty work of actually lifting the lids up and pumping the water out, or can someone else kind of do it? Or can he recommend? Okay, and have someone else do it. Yes, that's acceptable. What happens is the DO can go on site and say, you know what, there's an alarm going on. You need to call, you know, whatever company, and the company will come out and they'll pump out the water. Some sites are like that. Some sites the DO does all the stuff. So they'll go out there, they'll lift the lids, they'll pump up the water. Some facilities will do that. So it kind of depends on what we're. Bigger corporations, they're going to have their DOs, and they're going to have maintenance crew to come out and basically pump up the water. So they're going to have almost like two individuals working. But it depends. Smaller operations might use their DO as also their, you know, quote unquote maintenance person. Yes. Do the monthly DO inspections have to be on site at all times? Well, when we're out there doing the inspection, we do want them to be on site at that time. That's what we require. As to wherever, I don't know how they operate if they're not there, but when we're doing our inspection, we do want to go through them. So when we're there, we do require that they are present so we can inspect them. But otherwise, it'd be best management practices to have them there, but there's no requirement that says they have to be there at all times. So we've seen, I've had one site like that where the DO carries all the, I don't know why, and there's always, it's just a mess. But we can't, yes?
What if the DO, if there's been an alarm in the sump, the DO is required to go and look inside the sump
Right.
to make sure everything is right. But if there was an inspection by the testing company that were doing testing, so there were alarms in every sump and every dispenser,
Okay.
does he have to go and look in every one of them?
Okay, good question. So the question was, you know, DO, we know if there's an alarm, he goes out there and verifies what happened to that one individual sensor that went off. What if there's an annual certification or some type of secondary containment testing where all of the sensors are tested? When in that instance, we would look for a work order and maybe something written from the DO said, you know what, on 2/7/12, you know, Steve Kahn was out here doing an ICC certification or monitoring certification, and all the sensors were tested during that day. So or a work order that says, you know what, all the sump sensors were tested, or the annulars were triggered due to secondary containment testing. That would be okay, yeah.
If there was an alarm and it was responded by a certified technician, does the DO still have to go and look in that sump?
Oh, that's a good question. So the question was, if the alarm was responded by someone that is certified, yeah, would the DO have to go out there and check out that sump? They would not, because someone with the certification, with the license, already did it. But let's say, I'll give you another example. What if the facility employee went out there and pumped up the water, which is fine, but would that be okay for the DO not to respond or not to open up that sump? No. They would why? Yeah. Very good. Exactly. Right in the butt. So we want to be careful with that. Okay? So yeah, and also because they're not certified, right? The cashier's not certified. So the DO does have the responsibility to open up that sump and verify that that sump water is in fact, you know, placed in the has waste drum. And where's the sensor going to be placed? Lowest point of the sump, right? We don't want to see the sensor hanging up, right? We've seen that. I've seen that a few times where the sensor's up there and you're just like, what's going on here? Oh, I had my guy come out here and do this, and he doesn't know the laws. He doesn't know the regulations. He thinks the sensor, you know, monitors air, for example, you know, so we don't know. So we want to make sure that everyone is certified that's coming into contact with the monitoring components of the ICC, of the monitoring system. Good questions. You guys are awesome. All right, so any other questions about certifications, licensing, testing? Well, hold on, I got two questions here. Only one person. Okay. Real quick. Some cardio. All right, what's the question?
So, I understand as inspectors, we don't really have authority over the designated operators per se.
Right.
But let's just say we have a consistently bad DO, and, you know, he's getting a lot of violations for stations.
Right.
What's the recourse?
Okay, good question. She asked if we have, you know, a DO that does a really bad job, and we see the same violations over and over again. Like I mentioned earlier, maybe incomplete DO reports, alarms not responded to. What can we do as inspectors? Unfortunately, the ultimate responsibility lies with the owner and operator. So what's the recourse that we have? We can just tell them, look, you've had the same violation for the past 6 years, you know, what's the situation here? And if necessary, in San Diego County, we would probably enter some type of enforcement case in that instance. Yeah, but that would be our recourse. Good question. Any other questions? I saw a hand over here somewhere. Yes. The question was if the DO is doing their due diligence and they are, you know, correctly responding to alarms and documenting everything, but the owner is not, you know, either manifesting off the waste or really properly handling the waste, who's responsible there? Yeah, it goes back to the owners and operators, because when we're out there, whether you be a really good DO or a really bad DO, it all falls back on the owner and operator. So yeah, they would be ultimately responsible for that waste. Yeah. Any other questions? Oh. This is a hot topic here. Hold. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Say in the middle of the night. I didn't know that was in the law. So where can I find that?
For
the DO, where he has to come out and investigate the alarm.
Let's see. It's going to be in the health and safety code. I'll give you the exact section right now. I think I wrote it up here. Give me a second. I think it's 27 something. Oh, give me a second. Oh, the question was, where in the regs can we find out more information on how quickly the DO has to come out and respond to those alarms? Was that it? What? Yes? The monthly inspection. Yeah. Oh, yeah, the DO doesn't have to do, I think maybe I misspoke or something like that, where the DO, they're out there doing their monthly inspection. They don't have to respond immediately to the alarm. Who has to respond immediately to the alarm is the owner and operator. So what they usually do is they're going to call up like a contracting company, maybe, to pump up that liquid, or they'll have an employee pump up the liquid. But at some point, they have to call the DO to, get that liquid pumped out of there. Time-wise, there's no real... The laws are real tricky with time, and you'll see in a second. I'll have another example of time. We saw earlier release reporting, reportable, recordable. There's no numeric quantity. It's all about the time. So it's very similar to that. Yes.
An owner and operator, if they had let's say, water in the sump, an employee took out the water, but no ICC certified contractor looked inside the sump. So if the DO comes at the end of the month and looks inside, everything is fine, is the operator okay as far as having somebody check it after?
Yeah. The question was, let's say we get rainwater in a sump, and one of the facility employees goes out there and pumps out the water, and then afterwards the DO comes out and verifies everything. Is that okay? Is the owner operator, in compliance with the law? And yes, they are, as long as it's documented. So if we had the same scenario and nothing was documented, but we did have an alarm when we go out there to do our annual inspection, then it would become an issue. But as long as it's documented, then we're good to go. Very good questions. I'm afraid to say, but any other questions? No, I'm just kidding. Ask questions. Okay. So let's now talk about, we already did this. Let's talk about red tag authority and something called Administrative Enforcement Order, or AEO authority. So what does this mean? This means that we're going to essentially inhibit or prohibit any delivery of fuel into a system that is found to be in significant non-compliance, or has a significant violation, I should say. So what does that look like? Okay. Well, actually, that's a sticker that's later on. let's start here. Okay, so it's going to prohibit any person from depositing petroleum into a UST tank, okay, that has a red tag affixed to the fill pipe, because where do they get their fuel drop? At the fill sump, right? We know that, their fill, where the spill bucket is. So it's going to require the State Water Resource Control Board to adopt a regulation that's defined as significant violation. So what does significant violation entail? When we're dealing with a significant violation, I'll show you what that looks like first. This is what the red tag looks like. It's literally a red tag or some type of bag that's going to be affixed to the fill port to prohibit any petroleum deposits. And again, when we find a facility that's found to be in significant violation, we can affix this red tag to that facility. So this is not going to be used for a facility that was rude to you or that gives you trouble every year in terms of maybe a parking space. This is reserved for facilities that are significantly non-compliant. What does that mean? That means that they're in non-compliance with what? We've been talking about it, the Health and Safety Code and Title 23, right? So they're not in compliance with that. We can use this tool for that. So basically, they're not going to be allowed to have a fuel drop, and if it's tampered with, if it's removed, there's a nice penalty to go along with that, about $5,000 per day. Okay, so what does significant violation mean? I mentioned that earlier. It means that the person is failing to comply with the requirements set forth in 6.7 and, of course, of the California Code of Regulations. So any violation that causes a threatened release of petroleum from the UST system is considered a significant violation. So if we have overfill tampering, we saw that earlier with the picture with that stick, that meter stick within that flapper valve, would that be considered possibly a significant violation? Oh yeah, yeah. So that's just one example there. And also violations that impair the ability of a UST system to detect a liquid leak or contain a liquid release. So if we're talking about a violation that impairs the ability of a UST system to detect a liquid leak, I would be talking about what? Maybe a sensor that's non-functional, or even worse, raised, or how about X'd out, where for some reason, somebody does it. Nobody knows who does it, but somebody does it. They go into the Veeder system, and they actually X out the sensor. Now, how do you X out a sensor? Oh, I'm not going to tell you that. But, but basically, the sensor's X'd out, meaning that when it normally should trigger an alarm or shut down the turbine, it does not. So is that a problem? Oh, that's a big-time problem, because what happens is we go out there to do our annual inspection, and there's 3 feet of water or liquid. The sensor, is at the lowest point. We check the alarm history. We see setup data warning all over the place. There's no work orders. There's nothing going on there. That's a big issue there, okay? Would that be considered a significant violation? Oh, yeah, definitely, okay? Would it be grounds for a red tag authority? Yeah, yeah. In San Diego County, we don't really use red tag authority. We've never, I think we've had one case of doing that. We go through enforcement action with a facility. I don't know in other counties how you guys do it. Have you guys done this or do this? Is this common practice for you guys in other counties? Or have you guys seen this? Yes? No? Nobody? No? So I guess it's pretty rare then. Maybe one person? Yeah, there we go, one. All right. $1 million. All right. So that's the one. The one, and we're a big class here, and we've only got one example of that. So it's pretty rare, but it is a tool that we can use, and it is a tool that we can implement if the case calls for it. And of course, if we have a chronic violation or recalcitrant violator. So if this is something that's constantly happening, raise sensors, X sensors, sensors that are always non-functional, violations that we keep seeing over and over again, it can be the basis for a red tag or an AEO. So what does imminent threat, mean when we're dealing with a red tag authority? Imminent threat means that we're dealing with, of course, an imminent threat to the health of humans or the safety of the environment. So if we're seeing a release into primary containment, meaning into the environment directly, would that be a basis for red tag or AEO? Yeah, okay. And it's going to create a substantial probability of harm, which makes it necessary to take immediate action. So if this is a facility that's tampering with overfill equipment, I'll give you that example there, we would be in the right to place the station or facility under AEO or red tag. Now, if it's not imminent, okay, that's imminent. So if it's going into the environment, direct exposure to the environment, if it is an immediate cause to health and human safety, we're doing red tag or AO. What about if it's not imminent threat? If we discover we have a significant violation, but it's not an imminent threat, then we can issue a notice of significant violation to that owner or operator. So what do they have to do? Basically, in 7 days, they have to correct that violation. So if the owner or operator fails to correct that violation, then we can affix that red tag to the fill pipe and provide the notice that that delivery of petroleum is now prohibited. Okay. Now, like I said before, we generally. Question? No. Okay. She's just happy to be here. So, an example of this probably would be a broken sensor, right? Maybe race sensor that's going on. And again, if we see this, grounds for AEO or red tag. We don't use it. Like I said, in San Diego County, we don't use it. We give them a violation. We take pictures if necessary, and then we'll go into enforcement with them. So we've never had the instance, especially in the retail side of things, where we've had to use the AEO or red tag. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist, and it's not a tool that we can use or implement. It's just that we have a different method of dealing with our violators. So once we're notified by the owner of that facility that violation has been corrected, so they fixed the sensor, they got someone out there to reprogram the VDRT system, they pumped out all the water that's in their sump, they removed the stick from that overfill, then within 5 days of getting that letter or getting that notification, we got to go out there to determine whether that system is still in violation or if in fact they corrected the violation. And once it's discovered that they did correct the violation, we could immediately remove that tag. So here, basically, Red Tag Authority is going to authorize the local agency to issue these AEOs that require these violations be corrected. And again, we'll impose that administrative fine. What's the fine? What's the penalty? $5,000, right, per day, if tampered with. So the law specifies a procedure for conducting a hearing on the request of a person that's served with that order. So they do have a right to challenge the red tag, a hearing. So it's also stipulated in the law. All right, so that's going to do it for me. Any questions on that? So again, it is a tool that we can use. It depends on your local agencies, what they use. Everyone's a little different. Everyone has different types of enforcement tools to get compliance out of their facilities. For us, enforcement has been very effective in getting compliance. And I think we do a pretty good job with enforcement. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Cecilia again, and she'll go through alternative fuels with you guys.